Hey, everybody. It's Ashley here from Lovely Commotion. Can you believe it's almost February? I love February. I don't know if it's like all the hearts and all the candy. Well, I know it's all the candy. I just love February. Both my kids were also born in February, so that makes me love February and like even more. But I just love some February fun. And so I love to bring it into my classroom too. So today I want to share with you 8 Valentine's activities that I know your preschoolers will love because mine love them. So I know that yours will love them too. So I'm going to show you pictures on the screen of each of these activities, and maybe you can make note, and it could be something that you could plan for next week or the coming weeks when we hop into February. So let's go ahead and jump in to 8 Valentine activities that your preschoolers are going to love. First up, some coffee filter heart art. Say that 10 times fast. So I love doing these. We work on some cutting, some creativity. We work on some fine motor skills with the spray bottle. So basically what you're going to do is get you some coffee filters. I know I kind of wonder if they're ever going to go extinct because everybody's got those K-cups, those pods, but I still can keep finding these regular old coffee filters and they work the best. And so I take one of those and I fold it in half for each friend, and then I go ahead and draw half a heart on the front of it. And I do this with a black marker, and I try to make the line pretty thick. And so they start by cutting on that line to give them their shape. Obviously, this is something that you could either forego and not do at all and just have them use the coffee filter itself, or it is something that you could do for them depending on what age group you're working with. But then they open it up and they see that they have made a heart, which is half the excitement of doing this is, oh wow, like it was folded in half, and then when I open it, it makes something. And so they open that up and they use washable markers to color all over their heart. And I like to explain to them that for some types of art, we can be really detailed and really specific, and other types of art, we may just put a lot of color on the paper. And that's what we're doing with this. Just lots of color on the paper, whatever colors they want. They definitely can scribble, but try to get as much on there as you can that are your favorite colors. And so they do all that, and then I put a paper towel underneath their coffee filter heart, put it on a tray, and give them the spray bottle of water. And of course that in itself is super exciting, and they get to spray their heart down and watch as the colors bleed into the coffee filter and into each other. So, and then we just let those dry, and they make wonderful little happy sun catchers in the window. I can tape them up there. I can put their names on them in Sharpie because that obviously won't bleed. And I can put them up there, and the light can shine through them real nice and fun. So that is the first one that if you haven't tried that or any art with the coffee filters and markers and water in general, super fun. All right, activity number 2 is super simple as well. I like to keep most of what I do simple. Sometimes I get a little more extra, but for most of these I like to keep it pretty simple. So basically just some heart cookie cutters and some paint. And as you can see, we're using a leftover snowman plate that we had because I was not feeling like washing anything out that day. But to get kind of this marbled effect, I like to put some paint, or like the colored paint, around almost like a donut shape, and then a little bit of white in the middle. And you can either mix it yourself, kind of marble it yourself, or you will find that by them using this cookie cutter and kind of putting it in different places and re-dipping it, it kind of marbles it itself. So that's kind of fun as well, because you can see in the picture, like it's giving her different results each time she dips it in, because there is this marbling of the paint. Could do different colors, could do different shapes, whatever it could be, whatever you want it to be. But very simple. Love using plastic cookie cutters because they wash up so nicely. You don't have to worry about them rusting. And this is a great process art activity that they all can do. And it's interesting to watch too, because sometimes they won't just stamp it. Sometimes they'll try dragging it. Sometimes they'll like try maybe little stamping. And it's just interesting to watch the process that they take with this type of art. So super simple one that you can definitely prep real quick. Another one that we love to do, and this is more on the science end of the activities, is candy conversation heart boats, which really they could be any kind of hearts. They don't necessarily have to be ones that you would eat, and they don't necessarily have to be conversation hearts. They could be little, erasers, or they could be little plastic hearts, whatever it might be. But I challenge them to create a boat out of foil. So I give them a little bit of foil, and I tell them we are going to try to keep these hearts from touching the water. See if you can make a boat out of this, and we'll see how your boat does, right? We'll float your boat in the water, and we'll put the hearts on it and see what happens. So it's interesting to watch, because most of the time they can't just do this one time, and that's perfectly great with me. Many times if it doesn't work, sometimes they won't do a thing to their boat, and they'll just set the paper or set the foil in, and many times one of the edges will dip down and then it sinks the whole thing. And so then they learn, oh, that didn't work. And so then they either use that same piece of foil or want a new one, and then they start some other things. And so once we've got some boats going that are holding some of these hearts, the reason I buy candy hearts is just simply because the mass of them, that way we can add quite a few to the boat and count them. So we start counting, how many is this going to take to sink this boat? And I will tell you, if you don't have a lot of hearts, or you don't want to use as many hearts, give them smaller, pieces of foil. The one I gave in this picture was almost too big, because we had so many candy hearts on the boat and it was not sinking, which was pretty fun for them. Word of warning, if you do use the conversation hearts, the water gets sticky and like hands get sticky. So that's just, part of it, because they start disintegrating. But it's a great thing to talk about there too, right? Because they're like, why is the color coming off on my hands? Why am I sticky? And so we can talk about that too. But this is more like a challenge that they can just keep retrying and keep tweaking to try to hold as many hearts as possible. And then of course they all get a couple hearts after we're finished. That's how I encourage them not to eat them while we're experimenting, since lots of hands are touching them and the water's touching them. You get a couple at the end if you could just hold off a little bit. So that's kind of how I keep them out of the hearts. But again, you wouldn't have to use real candy. You could definitely use the eraser ones or any sort of alternative there. But they love making the boats and watching them float and seeing what they can do there. So that's a great activity to do for science. Another one I like to do, because we talk a lot about friendship in February, is friendship painting. And so I basically give them a large piece of paper, not just like a copy size paper, that's not big enough, but a little bit larger than that. And they get their palette of colors, and then they get paired up. And so the two of them work together to make this piece of art. And it's super interesting to watch, because we have friends that work pretty well together, and they can kind of go together and say, oh, I'm making this. Oh, I'll add this. And it's so wonderful to see that. And then you have other friends who literally divide that paper right down the middle, and that is their side, and this is your side. And so it's super interesting to see what comes out of this. But I always make sure that I'm right there to kind of walk through any social issues, little conundrums, little anger, maybe episodes that we have, but it creates a great time for that, right? And so I can be there kind of ready to guide them if, maybe it's not going as well as they had planned. But it's fun for them to see, like, look, we can make this together. And it's also neat because later I will have some painting at the easel, and I will find, two children working together on one art piece. So love the collaboration factor of that. And it also makes a great bulletin board, friendship painting. You've already got all this process art painting. Makes it very simple. A fun activity, math activity we do is just take, and this, I'm sorry, this photo is huge. Let me see if I can shrink this down a little. My golly, sorry about that. He just wanted to be ginormous today. These are those chocolate boxes, and I don't like chocolate boxes, but I always get them. So I just ask my mom to eat them, or she'll take the chocolate out and freeze them so she can have them later, I guess. I don't know. And then ask her to give me it back. So this is so fun, right? Because it's all the little container pieces are already there for you. And so they roll the dice, and they can use the pinchers, and they fill in the candy container until it's all full. Super simple, working on one-to-one correspondence and working on those fine motor skills. They could play it in a pair, they could play it by themselves. Doesn't really matter, right? The goal is still the same, trying to fill up the whole candy heart. So that's pretty fun as well and super simple. So if you do end up getting some heart-shaped Valentine chocolate boxes, you might want to hold on to them. Another thing that we love to do, and another huge one apparently, I'm gonna hopefully figure this out, is a writing tray. And I love writing trays, and they just, I don't know if they just invite them, like something loose in this tray that she's gonna let me, like, manipulate. What? And so make sure that if you do this, your tray has some sides to it, because you don't want it spilling out. And so this one is a great one. It's a clear one. I don't even know where it came from, but it's great because it has enough of an edge, right? But not too much of an edge that their arm like has to do this. So once you find the perfect tray, you'll know it and it'll work fabulous. Another tip I have for you is to put your tray on a tray, because it doesn't seem to matter how much you think it won't leak out from children, it will. And it gets out the paintbrush and sometimes comes off on there. So tray on a tray is kind of fun. And then this one is nice too, because it is a clear tray, and so that way they see the gray under it. So basically all this is a salt that I put a tiny bit of red food coloring in to make it a little pinkish, and a whole bunch of those non-peril, I think that's how you say it, sprinkles. And it just makes it festive and fun and inviting. And they can draw shapes in there. You could give them letters to do in there. This can be great for fine motor. You can make a couple of them. They don't cost a whole lot to make. And you can, save that salt mixture, sprinkle mixture. You could even, if you didn't want to use sprinkles because you're afraid they might, want to eat them, you could definitely use like confetti, glitter, lots of different options that you could use. But just be ready for a little bit of cleanup. I've never had one like fall off onto the floor. I'm really dreading that day. That day may not be very much fun because I think it'll be a lot. But you know what? It hasn't happened yet, and we're just gonna keep going. But this is a fun one. Especially anything with sprinkles, because who doesn't love sprinkles? But I tell them they're old and icky, even if they're not. I tell them, no, we don't want to eat these. Lots of people have touched them, or they're old and icky. We're not going to eat them. They're just fun to make letters in. So I just lay it all out there for them. But a writing tray, super simple to make. Another fun one is a tinker tray. And this picture is kind of cattywampus. I apologize. But this was one that I put a little bit more effort into collecting items for. And this is super open-ended, just giving them the things and seeing what they come up with. I found this awesome silver tray down here at the Dollar Tree, of all places. I don't know if it's supposed to be like little cupcake. It's very shallow. I don't know if it's supposed to be brownies. I don't know. I just bought it because I knew that it would work wonderfully in some capacity in my classroom. I added some heart cookie cutters. In the middle, there are heart, like plastic, see-through-ish kind of table scattery hearts that I found during Valentine's Day, I think at like the craft store, Hobby Lobby type thing. I have some cups. These just happen to be pink translucent, but any cups would work great. Small little cups would work great. I've got pom-poms in there, some straws in there, and then there's some containers that I also found at the Dollar Tree. So they have like a screw-on lid, so I thought that would be a good one for them to be able to unscrew. Many times when they do things like this, I find them making little concoctions and also doing a lot of pouring. So having the cups and another container that they can pour into is helpful. You could also add tweezers to this, little pinchers so that they could pick things up with that. You could add stir sticks. They had some stir sticks. They were like, I didn't even know what they were supposed to be used for at the Dollar Tree, but they're like a stick with a little heart, and I didn't buy them, and now I'm mad because they would have been great for them to like stir them around. But, straws can do that as well. And so lots of just open-endedness here of some small parts and what they choose to do with it. So the last one is all around those doily things. Have you seen those doilies at the Dollar Tree? And I'm sure there are other places too, but like they're a pack of paper. Like, I'm not even sure what you're supposed to use them for. We just use them in art. Doilies, like you can peel a whole stack of them apart and they've got them in different colors and stuff. Well, these are great as stencils. And so what you can do is just lay down one of those doilies on a piece of paper and get a dauber or a sponge, and they can daub over that whole thing and lift it up and see that amazing pattern that was left behind. Super simple art project right there that you could do, that they could use different colors, they could move it around and do it in different places. They make different size doilies, different shaped doilies. So, possibilities are endless, but that is a super fun one as well. So let's just recap real fast on these 8 Valentine's activities that I know your preschoolers will love because mine do. First up was the coffee filter heart art, saying that 10 times fast, cookie cutter stamping or painting. That one's a fun one. Candy boats, making boats for some candy, seeing how many candy hearts their boat can hold. Great science right there. Some friendship painting, 2 friends together painting on the same paper. Roll and fill game, where they roll the dice and fill up the chocolate heart candy tray with puffballs. And when I used this last year, they're like, "Where's the chocolate?" Like they were very offended that I had taken out the chocolate and just gave them this empty thing, which I thought was pretty funny. And then a writing tray made of salt and sprinkles, and a fun tinker tray with lots of different little items that they could manipulate and create whatever they want, right? Really open-ended there. And then using those crazy heart doily things from the Dollar Tree as a stamp, as like a little stencil. So those are 8 activities that I think your students are going to love. So I hope you got some ideas of maybe something that you could bring into your classroom this coming month, just kind of giving you a heads up on some February planning and hopefully giving you some ideas there. And then if you have any activities that you absolutely love doing during this Valentine's theme month, drop them in the comments. Let us all know. I would always love new ideas. New ideas are so fun, and we learn best from the teachers right next door to us, right? Even virtually. So let me know. Drop me a comment if you have an activity that you do and you just, the kids go gaga for it and it's so fun and fabulous. I would love to hear it. So I will see you next Sunday, y'all, and happy end of January. Bye.